I used AI to reconstruct 1800s San Francisco, street by street, building by building. In 1847, this was a village of 800 people called Yerba Buena, sitting on a shallow cove.
There are more than 70 ships buried under the streets of downtown. The world's most famous prison had 111 cannons and never fired one. Thousands of men were drugged and kidnapped from bars for over 50 years. And the prettiest alley in Chinatown was a gang battlefield. Walk with me.
We start right here, Pring, the financial district. You know this place.
Glass towers, Salesforce building, people in suits, streetcars running underground. Now look down. You're walking on top of ships. In 1847, this was a village of 800 people called Yerba Buena, sitting on a shallow cove. Then gold was discovered. Within 2 years, 25,000 people. Over 500 ships poured into the harbor. And then every single crew abandoned them. Captains, sailors, passengers, everyone ran for the gold fields. The cove became a floating graveyard. Some ships were dragged ashore and turned into hotels. The Niantic, a whaling ship from Connecticut, was beached right here at Clay and Sansom Streets and converted into a hotel. Someone carved above the door, "Rest for the weary and storage for trunks." There's a famous daguerreotype from 1852. It shows Yerba Buena Cove packed with hundreds of ship masts, just a forest of dead ships crammed together. I used AI to bring that photograph to life. And when you see it moving, you realize the entire downtown was a harbor. Then the fire of 1851 burned everything to the waterline, and instead of clearing the wreckage, the city just buried it. Sand, dirt, paved over, built on top. Walk over here to Jackson Square. See this marker in the pavement? That's the original 1849 shoreline. 6 blocks inland from today's waterfront. Everything between here and the bay is sitting on landfill and rotting gold rush ships. And if you take the N. Judah streetcar, you pass directly through the hull of a ship called the Rome. Every day. Commuters riding through a 19th century shipwreck and nobody knows. Keep walking north. This is Jackson Square now. Art galleries, quiet restaurants, nice neighborhood. From 1849 to 1917, this was the Barbary Coast. Named after the pirate coast of North Africa. 9 blocks of saloons, gambling halls, and kidnapping operations. Almost no police presence. Murders in broad daylight, no arrests. Australian ex-convicts called the Sydney Ducks set buildings on fire when owners refused protection money. The word Shanghaied was invented on this street. Ship captains needed crews, so professional kidnappers called crimps worked out of the saloons. You walk in, order a drink, it's laced with opium. Trapdoor opens. You drop into a basement, get dragged through a tunnel to the waterfront, and wake up on a ship in the Pacific. This happened for over 50 years. Come over here, 298 Pacific Avenue. The Old Ship Saloon. This was one of those kidnapping dens. Still open. You can have a beer where men were drugged and dropped through the floor. And down here, 555 Pacific, the Hippodrome. It's an art supply store now. But there's still a brick tunnel underneath from the Shanghaiing days. Few blocks west, and we're in Chinatown. Oldest in North America, founded in the 1850s. Chinese immigrants called California Gamsan, Gold Mountain. You know this place from postcards. Dragon Gate. Fortune cookies, dim sum. More visitors per year than the Golden Gate Bridge. 7 blocks long, 3 blocks wide. Criminal organizations called Tongs ran everything underground. Gambling dens on this alley, Ross Alley, with reinforced doors to slow police raids. Tunnels connecting basements across entire blocks so people could vanish during a bust. By the late 1880s, there were 300 opium dens serving 3,000 addicts. And the darkest part? Trafficking. Tongs purchased girls in China for under $300 and auctioned them here in San Francisco for $2,000, some as young as 10. During the 1870s and 1880s, over 1,800 trafficked women in Chinatown, 70% of the entire Chinese female population. Walk with me down Waverly Place. Look up, the Street of the Painted Balconies. One of the most beautiful alleys you'll ever see. In 1879, 50 men fought here over a kidnapped girl. 4 died. Now come back to Ross Alley. See that? The Golden Gate Fortune Cookie Factory. Tourists line up every day. Same alley where the gambling tunnels ran underneath. Now we climb. Head west on California Street. Take the cable car if you want. It was invented right here in San Francisco in 1873. And the reason it was invented is the reason we're going up this hill. This is Nob Hill. Named from Nabob, obscenely rich. In the 1870s, the Big Four lived up here: Stanford, Hopkins, Crocker, Huntington. Railroad barons who made their fortunes from the Transcontinental Railroad. The cable car made the steep climb possible, so they built palaces on top. Charles Crocker wanted his mansion to cover the entire block. An undertaker named Nicholas Young owned a small house on the corner and refused to sell. Crocker offered $5,000. Young wanted $7,000. So Crocker built a 40-foot wall around Young's property on 3 sides. Blocked the light, the air, every view. The Crocker spiked fence stood for years. Not one Big Four mansion survived 1906. The earthquake and fire burned Nob Hill to the ground. The only one still standing is the Flood Mansion, 1886, brownstone, survived because it was stone. Today it's the Pacific Union Club. You can see it right here. The mansion sites became the Fairmont Hotel, the Mark Hopkins Hotel, the Stanford Court. And Grace Cathedral, built right on Crocker's old lot. Where the spiked fence stood, there's now a cathedral. Turn around and look at the bay. You see that island. Everyone knows what it became. There's an old military sketch from the 1860s. It shows Alcatraz covered in cannons. Fortifications on every cliff. I brought that drawing to life in AI, and it looks nothing like the prison tourists know. The Spanish named it in 1775, Island of the Pelicans. In the 1850s, the army turned it into the most heavily fortified site on the west coast. 111 cannons pointed at the Golden Gate. It was supposed to protect San Francisco from invasion. Never fired a single shot. Not one. Instead, it became a prison. Confederate sympathizers during the Civil War. Then, Native American prisoners. In 1895, 19 Hopi men from Arizona were shipped here. Their crime, refusing to send their children to government boarding schools designed to erase their language and culture. By 1934, maximum security federal penitentiary. Capone. Machine Gun Kelly. Water averages 50 degrees, no prisoner ever officially escaped. Then, 1969. The government closed the prison. Native American activists occupied the island for 19 months, claimed it as Indian land. Changed federal policy forever. 1.4 million visitors a year walk through the cell block. Most never see the fortress cannons underneath, or know that Hopi fathers were locked in those cells for wanting to raise their own children. 512 AM. April 18th, 1906. The San Andreas Fault slipped along 296 miles of coastline. Shaking lasted less than a minute. But the earthquake wasn't what destroyed San Francisco. The fire was. Broken gas mains ignited everywhere. Water mains shattered, nothing to fight the flames. 3 days. 500 blocks. 4 square miles. 28,000 buildings destroyed. Over 3,000 dead, though the city reported just 700 to avoid scaring off investors. 225,000 homeless. More than half the city sleeping in tents in Golden Gate Park. One woman tried to cook breakfast, didn't know the earthquake had cracked her chimney. That ham and eggs fire destroyed an entire neighborhood. There's a photograph by Arnold Genther taken on Sacramento Street during the fire. People standing in the street, watching the smoke roll in, completely calm. It's one of the most famous photographs in American history. I reconstructed that exact moment in AI, same street, same angle, and brought it to life. What you see is a city watching itself disappear. Every Nob Hill mansion gone. The Barbary Coast gone. Chinatown, every building, every tunnel, every underground den, gone. After the fire, officials tried to relocate the Chinese community. The land was too valuable now. The community fought back and rebuilt in the same spot, this time with Chinese architecture. The pagoda roofs, the Dragon Gate. The Chinatown you walk through today was born from 1906. Everything I just showed you, you can still see it. The ships are still under your feet in the financial district. The old ship saloon is still pouring drinks. Chinatown is on the same 7 blocks, built back with its own architecture. The painted ladies on Steiner Street survived because they bent with the earthquake instead of breaking. And Alcatraz is still sitting in the bay. A fortress, a prison, a protest site, and now a place where tourists take selfies. If there's a city you want me to rebuild next, drop it in the comments. Thanks for watching.